Hi, everyone. Sean Gilliam here. Welcome to my podcast, Real Estate on the Front Range. In this episode, I'm going to take a look at the monthly market update for February. That means we're going to look at data from January and see how 2026 has started off. So I'll compare year-over-year data as well as the month-over-month data so you can see how things are trending here in the Front Range of Northern Colorado. So stay tuned. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Real Estate on the Front Range, my podcast where I cover all things real estate here on the Front Range of Northern Colorado. Join me to get market updates, tips, and information on relevant topics to make sure you are fully informed before you buy and sell your next home. This is Sean Gilliam, your host, and I look forward to you joining me on your favorite podcast for the latest episodes. All right, let's go ahead and get started with mortgage interest rates. As you can see here, the 30-year fixed rate dropped down today, February 13th, to 6.04% for a 30-year conventional fixed rate loan. So that is as low as it's been in years, a couple of years at least. If you look at the 30-year FHA, that's at 5.62, and the 30-year VA is at 5.64. So good position for you if you're a home buyer. This is a good time to get out and take a look and see what you're qualified for, what you can afford, as well as what kind of home might be out there that might best suit your needs. And this is also good news for sellers because the more buyers come on the market, the more likely you're going to be able to sell your home at a better price and sooner than what we've seen here in the last couple of years. So good news, 30-year fixed rate is at 6.04%. The forecast, if you've seen some of my other episodes, the forecast is that we're supposed to get down to 5.9 by year's end, and then 2027 should see a continuation or a stabilization of that. So we should stay in the upper fives for that following year. So we'll see what happens. All that to say, it's a good time to get out and see how much home you can afford if you're a buyer. So feel free to get in touch. I'd be glad to get you in touch with local lenders that can help you evaluate how much you can afford in purchasing a home. So feel free to reach out. Let's go ahead and jump over to what is going on. Let me close out of this. The year-over-year data. We'll start out with Boulder County, and this is comparing January 2026 to January 2025. And as you can see, the number of new listings are down 5.4%, so 279 new listings last month. Pending sales was at 211, so homes that were under contract, that's up 37.9% compared to last year at this time. And we'll see that in all three counties that I'm covering. And that's just an indication that we are seeing more buyer activity because the rates went down latter part of last year to the low sixes, and that made homes more affordable for more people. And so we're seeing more buyer activity as a result of that. Closed sales, 141. So that's down 9%. And that's just an indication that in December, not as many people go under contract because typically a transaction takes about 30 days. So not as many people went under contract in December, partly because it's the holiday. People don't like to mess around with going under contract on a home in December or right around the holidays. So that's what happened there. Closed sales, 141, down 9%. Days on market until sale for Boulder County is up significantly at 94. So from the day a home gets on the market until it closes, 94 days. So that's just over 3 months. That's up 10.6% compared to last year at this time. The median sales price hasn't changed that much. It's at $805,000. That is down 0.6%. The average sales price in Boulder County is $1,048,000, and that's down 1.5% from last year at this time. Percent of list price received is 96.2%, and that is down 1.5% from last year at this time when it was at 97.7%. The inventory of homes for sale is at 532, and that is down 6.5% from last year at this time when it was at 569. And then our month supply of inventory is at 2-month supply of inventory. That's down 13% from last year when it was at 2.3. Now, you've heard me say this before, a balanced market is about 6 months. And so by the numbers, we are still in a seller's market. However, it's a case-by-case basis. Sometimes because homes are sitting on the market so long that some sellers have to move or don't want to stay in the area anymore, whatever the case may be, that they're highly motivated. And so some transactions behave more like it's in a buyer's market. So that's good news for you if you're a buyer. So something to pay attention to if you want to, or your goal is to purchase a home this year. All right, let's jump over to Larimer County. We can see here new listings are down 1.7%. So 450 new listings in January compared to 458 last year. Not a huge difference. Pending sales are at 334. That's up 5.4% from last year at this time when it was at 317. Closed sales is down 0.8%. So 235 closed sales in January compared to 237 last year. Again, not much of a difference. Days on market until sale in Larimer County is 106. That is up 20.5% from last year at this time when it was at 88. So homes, that's an indication that homes are sitting on the market for quite a while. Again, that's a good signal for buyers to enter the market. You definitely have more negotiating power. Median sales price in Larimer County is $576,000. That is down 0.7%. Last year it was $579,950. So not much of a change there. Average sales price is at $708,000. That's about it's about a 0% change compared to last year. And then percent of list price received is 98.5%. That is up 0.1% from last year when it was at 98.4. And then the inventory of homes for sale is at 898. That is an increase of 11.7% from last year when it was at 804. And then the month supply of inventory is the same as it was last year at this time at 2.3. So we're seeing some relative stability in Larimer County overall when you compare year-over-year data. Now let's take a look at Weld County. New listings are at 561. That's up 4.1% from last year at this time when it was at 539. Pending sales, 441. That's up 17.3% compared to last year when it was at 376. Closed sales are at 244. That is down 16.2% from last year when we saw 291 closed sales in January. Days on market until sale, also over 100. So 102 days on market until a home closes. And that's up 14.6% from last year at this time when it was at 89. Median sales price, $490,000. That's down 3.7% from last year when it was at $509,000. And our average sales price in Weld County is $556,545. That's down 6.1% from last year when it was at about $592,000. Percent of list price received is 98.8. That is up 0.2%. Last year at this time it was 98.6. Inventory of homes for sale is 1,083. That is down 1.2%. Last year at this time it was at 1,096. Not a significant change. And then the month supply of inventory is 2.5. And that's down 7.4% from last year when it was at 2.7. So again, relative stability year over year. We just saw an increase in pending sales significantly, as well as the days on market until sale. So I think all the data that compared for all three counties shows that we definitely see more buyer activity and homes going under contract, again, because of the lower interest rate. Last year at this time, rates were around 7%. So definitely is going to increase buyer demand out there with the lower interest rates. Now let's go ahead and jump over here with the month-to-month data. We'll start out with new listings. And I'm looking at 1 year, so that's what this chart represents. And you can see that new listings jumped up from December to January fairly significantly in all three counties. If we go back here and look at the transition from December to January or January into February, it's kind of going sideways overall, and then it jumps up in March. But we're seeing here already December into January, a significant jump up compared to what we're seeing last year. Homes for sale, that's about the same. Inventory has stayed the same overall. And that number represents homes that close, homes that are withdrawn from the market, listings that expire. All those factor into that. So overall, the inventory has stayed about the same month over month. We can jump over here to the homes under contract. We saw an increase in those from December to January. And that is an indication, again, that there's more buyer activity this year, partly because of those interest rates. And then the number of closed sales, that went down into January. Again, that's reflective of the fact that in December, we don't see that much activity. Again, because of the holidays and other various factors. But I think this metric will go up as we look at February's data and March, especially as we get on later into the spring. All right, looking at the sales price, I like the average. You look at the median, and it's kind of going sideways, and then kind of the same result with average. So home prices on average are fairly stable overall across all three counties. Then we look at that percent of original price received. Again, I like the average. That is going down in Boulder County, but is kind of going sideways for both Larimer and Weld counties. We are definitely not seeing 99 or 100% or even above that like we saw several years ago. Days on market until sale, that has gone up in all three counties fairly significantly, even higher than last year at this time. And that's an interesting observation because last year at this time, we had the higher interest rate. So you would think it would stand to reason that we would see homes selling quicker now. But there are a lot of homes that are sitting there on the market. And again, this metric is a signal to buyers that this is a good time to get out and buy. A lot of buyers, or sellers rather, are willing to negotiate for various reasons. So it pays to get out and search for a home right now. And then our month supply of inventory is about the same month over month. That's going sideways. Showings per listing. This is one that sellers like to see go up because this means that more buyer activity is out there, which is certainly the case in January. So buyers are out looking at homes. So each listing is getting on average more showings than they were in December. And then shows to pending. This one is kind of going sideways for Weld and Larimer County, but it's going down for Boulder. This is a metric that sellers like to see it go down because that means it takes fewer buyers to look at your home before you get it under contract on average. And so this is an important metric for sellers to pay attention to, if I can talk, excuse me, as well as showings per listing. So that is the data for Larimer, Weld, and Boulder counties. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to get in touch. This is a great time, like I said, if you're looking to buy a home, get in touch with me. I can plug you in with some local lenders. You can shop around who can give you the best rate and fees and all that so that you're ready when you want to get out there and buy a house. You'll know what you can afford, and you'll know where to look and what market or parts of the market has what you're looking for. Sellers, this is also a great time. We likely see more buyer activity in the spring than any other time in the year. So this would be a good time to get your home on the market. You'll get more potential buyers. And again, hopefully sell your home in a shorter time period and get a better price. So get in touch. I'd be glad to consult with you, give you an idea of some things you can do to purchase a home and or to get your home ready to sell. Make sure it's in tip-top shape. I will tell you that buyers right now, they're willing to look at fixer-uppers or homes that need updating if the price is right. Otherwise, they like move-in ready. They like homes that are updated, they're clean, there's nothing that they need to do. They can just go to closing, get the keys, and bring all their stuff in and call it home. So something to be aware of if you're a seller or a prospective seller, that you want to make sure that you're put yourself in that position so that you'll attract more buyers. All right. Well, that is all that I have. If you have any questions, like I said, don't hesitate to get in touch. I also just put out my year in review. So looking at the same data here from the IRIS MLS, I look at all the data compiled from 2025 to get you an idea of what happened and what kind of buyers were out there. And I think that's spilling over here into 2026. So check out my YouTube channel. You'll see a link for that. I just posted it a couple days ago. I also have other content on there that might be helpful, as well as updates for local communities like Longmont and Berthoud, Firestone, so that you can get an idea of what the market is doing and so that you'll be well informed for your next move. Look forward to talking to you soon. Take care.